alert, so it's not live. Wait, an alert just came on the screen.
Okay, perfect.
Meeting is now streaming live. Perfect.
Perfect.
Dominique, thanks again for joining us the second month. And I'm gonna go ahead and put in the request that, if not November, if not October, then we just make this happen in 2021. And you're on mute, so you can't object.
I'm like over here running my mouth and I'm like, wait a minute, nobody's saying. No, thank you so much. I was telling Magali how much I enjoyed it. Just teaching everyone some new things and seeing how everyone reacts and responds is really, really special. It also just gets me in the mindset of what people really need right now. So I'm grateful to be here. Is it okay if I get started?
Let me do a quick review and then we can jump into the presentation.
Okay, great. I'm gonna grab my ring light.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Actually, let me stop sharing the screen for 1 second. Okay, Dominique?
Okay.
I like to see everybody as I speak to them. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the, what is this, September Marketing Outside the Box series. This month, we are exploring tips and tactics that we think would be beneficial to ensuring that you have a successful virtual event. While we are in a weird time in COVID-19, we still see that virtual events are key to a lot of our local organizations and thus also our businesses to ensure that we continue to thrive and connect and engage with our communities and audiences. So with that, we are bringing you what we hope you can use as you go forward with some of your virtual events, or you can share with others who host virtual events. We have Dominique Bercy again with FlorMarie with us this month. And if you don't remember, FlorMarie focuses primarily on hospitality, marketing, and events. So it's a wonderful, wonderful marriage of both of our organizations to do this. For those who are new with us, Marketing Outside the Box is something that we do monthly in collaboration with the Foresight Tech Small Business Center, as well as Flywheel Co-working here in Winston-Salem. We being Hustle Winston-Salem. I recognize I never actually said the organization name for those that are not familiar. So we're really excited about this topic, and we really hope that you find some benefits out of it. I will stop speaking now, but if you have any questions on anything that I said in regards to Hustle, the Small Business Center, or Flywheel Co-working, please don't hesitate to drop it in the chat. Welcome to those also joining us on Facebook. Feel free to communicate and ask your questions there in the Facebook Live. And with that, I will allow Dominique to take over.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Magali. Hello, everyone. Like Magali mentioned, I am so excited to be here representing my business, FlorMarie Consulting. And I know there's a lot of names and words going on, so I just like to take a minute to introduce myself, introduce the course, and talk about, why we're here, what we can expect. So just to make sure everyone can see my screen, because I've had a few challenges in the past. Do we see the first purple page? Yeah. All right. So as Magali mentioned, last month we focused on email marketing as part of our Millionaire Marketing Series. This is a continuation of a Millionaire Marketing Series. We're just going to focus this month on virtual events. Considering that we are in a pandemic right now and we don't really know when outside is going to open back up, we need to kind of be a little more prepared to not only host virtual events, but also transition back to in-person events. So we're going to talk about what a playbook would look like all month. So throughout the month, we are going to lead with virtual events. and tips and tricks for things like that. But we're also going to cross over into what it looks like to kind of go back to in-person events and the planning for that. So maybe we won't get into the nitty-gritty of it, but we can definitely be prepared to make that transition back while also holding on to really strong skills and tips and things that we're going to learn from a virtual standpoint. So I like to give a class schedule at the beginning of every course just to give you a little framework of how things are going. I'm one of those learners where I need breaks. I need moments to have conversations. So I really want to encourage us to use the chat box. I actually look at the chat box after every class, and I kind of help answer any questions that weren't answered or make sure that I incorporate that information into the presentations and the coursework that we give you at the end of the month. And I will make an announcement about that for August at the end of class. So today we're going to just take the next couple of minutes to have a mindful moment. And in this week's mindful moment, I actually want us to get really creative. So I've put a little bit of instruction on this slide. So I want everyone to introduce themselves, but obviously we don't have the time to kind of go through everyone that's on the screen. So maybe if we could take a moment and type an introduction of yourself into the chat box, it'll give me an opportunity to not only know who you are, but also get an understanding of why you're here and what your business or your brand is. And let's say you don't have one, or let's say you have more than one. Just give me whatever elevator pitch or whatever 10-second explanation you would give to anyone else is. And be sure to include any websites or social media channels or anything like that. So just take a moment to type that in the box while I find my phone to silence it. Give me just a second.
In case you missed it, she's just asking for us to go ahead and do quick introductions in the chat. So that's both on Facebook and in the Zoom. Go ahead and do it on Facebook. If there's anything pertinent, we can always get that to Dominique. And she also checks our Facebook conversations after the class. So feel free to drop it in there as well.
And if we could, as you guys are typing that, we have about 3 more minutes before we actually move into the lesson. I want to quickly talk about what just happened, right? So before class, I always get ready. I set my area up. I make sure my background doesn't have anything that's too crazy, but a little bit of personality, because that's how I am. And then I take all my electronics and I put them on do not disturb. But today I was rushing to get my tea for our coffee break, and I forgot to put my phone on do not disturb. So in this moment, I have done a few things that I want to highlight and make sure that you pay attention to. So first of all, the class schedule is up and in the background of what you're looking at, right? That's intentional. I want everyone to see the exact times that we're going to do things. That gives you a sense of security. So for somebody like me that sometimes gets a little anxious, I like seeing what we're going to do when. Also, as the person teaching the course, I have built in buffers. So most of the buffers are honestly so that I could stay hydrated, because I drink a lot of water. And when you're teaching and talking and doing all those things, you need to build in moments for you to pause and take a break. So I like to start with a mindfulness moment, first of all, because we come from different walks of life, different spaces, different places, and we are coming together during lunchtime. So a lot of times when I used to work in corporate America and at nonprofits, I would teach during lunchtime, and it was the lunch and learn. But I made sure that we made time to take care of ourselves before we got into any lesson. So I encourage you to get a drink, grab a snack, have whatever you need, a blanket, whatever you need to be comfortable as we learn this lesson, because we're in a challenging time. So we need to kind of extend a little bit of compassion. And sometimes as a CEO or as a consultant, you can do that by informing your audience of what you're going to do and also giving buffers. And also using the power of the mute and the turn off the camera, because sometimes you have to get up from where you are to go run and do something, or maybe you need to blow your nose or do something that you just don't want to do on camera. Set yourself up so that you can do those things. I do see that we have 7 comments in the chat box, so I'm going to assume everyone did their introductions, and I'm going to move on to start talking about who I am for those of you that don't know. My name is Dominique
Everyone
Bercy.
did not, but we're going to let them live today. Maybe they don't feel like it.
Okay, yeah, and that's okay. There's no pressure. I just want to know you all a little bit better. But to tell you about me, I am Dominique Bercy, a nationally ranked public speaker, a marketing and human resource strategist, and I'm really on a mission to empower businesses with data-driven tactics so that they can speak to their customers and increase their profit. Because at the end of the day, no matter what industry you're in, that should be part of your overall goal. Just to give you a little bit about my experience, I'm a publisher, a writer, a marketer. I've been a restaurant manager, I'm a real estate investor. I have helped fundraise for Fortune 500 companies and universities, and I've also been an event planner similar to Magali for a very long time. And just to kind of give you a little more knowledge and insight into me culturally, my family is from Haiti, but I was born here in America, and we have a lot of events, a lot of social gatherings, a lot of things that we do as a family that are cross-cultural, right? So I have just found a way to take the things that I was kind of blessed with as a gift and bring them together with the things that I learned as a child and maybe even learned in school or in the school of life. So for this course, we are going to be able to leave this classroom with a better understanding of event marketing as a holistic category, but specifically virtual events and transitioning out of a pandemic once we get there. So the objective is to use event marketing to build on our millionaire marketing strategy. We're going to walk through virtual and in-person events. And we're also going to make sure that everyone at every level of marketing, business ownership, or event planning is able to follow the course. This is an all-level course. Also, I am committed to innovation and technology. So I want to make sure that every class you leave with a piece of technology on your side or a technique or strategy that will help you move forward. I want to also make sure that we are thinking about the impact that we're having on everything that we do, right? I'm also a philanthropist, so I feel like we always have to think about what we're doing and how we affect our global community, especially now. So we want to make sure that we use event marketing to help us communicate between the business and the consumer. So remembering to keep a global mindset with our impact. And then, of course, the time and commitment for this course. It is a 4-hour course. So I think that it would require about an hour a week of class time. And then I recommend an hour a week of outside of class time, just so you can learn and really marinate and even ask me any questions via email or in class. So I want to start off with a statistic that tells us that 26% of the world's population actually are e-shoppers from different parts of the world. And I want us to think about that because no matter if we're selling a service or a product, we need to be mindful that who we are talking to in this digital age has greatly increased and expanded. So even if our current business or brand is not where we think or society tells us it should be from a digital space, we have to recognize that that is where we're going, right? So if we take a look at the chat box and see where some of your businesses lay or what you sell or do, we can definitely start planning for a virtual event. So Magali, if you don't mind picking one of the random answers, as an event planner, pick something that that you think I could work with quickly to kind of throw together an example as we talk through the lesson.
You want me to give you an example from the group
From the
or
chat, yeah.
somebody's business?
Yep.
Let's do, and I'm positive, I am so proud, I think I have this right. Aixa, did I say it right this time? Yes, let's do Aixa.
All right.
So she owns Aixa Maria's gift baskets. Do you want me to read the
Woo!
whole description?
Please do, Magali, because I'm like letting that marinate as I.
Okay. She offered delivery, shipping, and in-store pickup. She's here in Forsyth County in Kernersville, on Main Street with the bright yellow door. And her website is aixamariasgiftbaskets.com.
And Aixa, thank you so much for volunteering as tribute. I promise to be gentle and informative. But I do have a quick question. What do you sell in the gift baskets?
She may type it. I know normally she's unable to speak, so just give her a moment.
And if anyone knows, or if anyone can click on the website really quickly and let me know.
I can tell you.
Okay, thank you.
Number one, let me just mention, she's the second place winner of the Launch Challenge. We had our showcase on Monday, so celebrate her.
Yeah.
Virtually, at least, give her a big applause. She worked really hard for the last 6 months in our Business Accelerator.
Wow.
She has several different types of gift baskets, and they can be custom made, so they can have whatever you would like to gift someone with.
Okay, so they're customizable.
Yes. But
Okay,
some of the ones you'll see on our website, they could be candy, they could be, fun stuff, they could be, geared toward kids, so you might have younger things, or geared to people who are a little bit older like I am. So they're a great variety.
So that seems like an excellent thing to give an example for, because there's an actual product. But I'm also going to speak to the customization of the product as a service, because some of us don't have businesses where we sell an actual product. Sometimes we sell a service. Like me, I'm a consultant. So my service is my product is my time. It's me. So we're going to kind of hop back and forth between those two ideas. But now that we are aware of what we're talking about, we're going to apply the lesson to the example of the yellow door store. I'm just going to call it that just for the sake of my memory. So when we talk about, wait a minute, lesson 2. Oh, that's a typo. We are on lesson 1. But when we talk about planning our virtual events, we need to make sure that we understand events overall. So before we get into the nitty gritty of it, I want to tell everyone that, first of all, your son calls it the yellow door. I was on it and I have a yellow dress on. So first, we need to understand that you have to get the word out about your online event, period. That is your job and your responsibility, no one else's. So in order for you to do that, especially during this challenging time of, honestly, we don't know what people's schedules are like. We don't know if people want to attend because they might register 3 days before, but then the day of, they might decide they're not into it, or, they might have other things coming up. I tell people all the time, we need to be very compassionate and very flexible right now, just because you don't know what people are going through. So when we're thinking about how to give messaging for an event that we still need for our business, we should do the following things. So number 1, I think you should definitely address the public health concerns and how they affect and impact your business. So if I could give the Yellow Door store a line of copy, it would literally be, our family has been affected by the pandemic, probably like yours has, or something along those lines. This year, we've decided to take our annual XYZ events and make them virtual. That's the first part of the statement, to include something about public health. I like to put a little bit of compassion in the tone so that people understand that you are a family. Even if your family is a business, it's still a nice word to use. You could say team, or you could say group as well, but those kind of words kind of add a little warmth to your language. And the second point, I think, is to clarify that the event is being moved virtually and not canceled. So if there is an event that you do have that's normally in person that you do have to cancel, absolutely cancel it. But if there is a way for you to have that event virtually, and if you are working with your team to figure out that plan, I think that you should definitely have messaging that clarifies whether it's canceled or moved virtually. Along with that, you need to be sure to revise the date and time of the events unless it is still occurring on the same date and time. And even if it is, I would recommend in your marketing that you still create a new piece of marketing that speaks to the changes of the event. So all of the really important details should be in the description of the event. So that should still have all the information that is above, as well as delivering the value of the event. But I do think that, let's say you have a flyer, for example, of this week's class, and I'm sorry, next week's class on the 9th. And let's say nothing is changing from the class except that we're going to have a new website to go to access the class, or we're changing the location from in person to digital. So a change of location. I would literally take the flyer that we had and put a big sign or a big something across it to say same time, different location, and then maybe highlight or circle the new link or the location, the address, if you will. So just a few tips about how to kind of promote your events, even if you have to transition them. Oh, I see what I did. I hopped way ahead, but I think we are still on schedule, because then I want to talk about the benefits of a virtual event, right? So what are virtual events? Essentially, virtual events are online events that take place of the events that used to happen in person. These are great ways to connect with your audience globally, right? Because now we are providing an experience in a digital space that we should be able to invite more people to. So we should be able to use this opportunity to also talk about the tools that we're using, maybe do live webinars, have a chat feature like how I asked you guys to use the chat box today, and even serving your digital content in a richer way. And I have a resource that's going to help you do that at the end of class. We also want to talk about how virtual events really do help you enhance your engagement and give you bigger goals to try to reach and achieve. So when we talk about what the definition of event marketing is, and we kind of dove into it by skipping ahead a little bit, but that should be fine. Event marketing is essentially the strategy that we use to promote our brand, our products, our services, or who we are with an in-person or a virtual engagement. So I want to make sure that we also understand that virtual is not just this type of a layout, right? This layout is live, semi-live, and on demand, because we are conducting the class live. We have semi-live activities, which means when you chat in the chat feature, I'm going to go check it later and respond to it or be able to build on it. And then we also have the on-demand feature of having the live videos archived on the social channels so that other people can watch the videos and still get the information necessary. So these events, as we know, can be online or offline, and companies usually participate by hosting it, like Flywheel and Hustle is hosting this event, having participants like us, everyone on the call, having sponsors, people that help pay for the finances and the things that are needed to get the call going or the event going, and also any speakers or special guests. So in this kind of series, our mission is to expand our reach and our influence. So before we kind of get into the actual setting up of our online registration system, does anyone have any questions about what we talked about so far? Or are there any questions in the chat?
No questions in the
Okay.
chat.
All right, great. So once we get to the space of understanding what a virtual event is, thinking about the events that we've had in person at the Yellow Door store, and whether or not it makes sense to make them virtual, or figure out a plan for a year from now, the in-person event. Whatever we are processing, now we at least understand that the online process is an essential part of the event. So when we talk about setting up our online RSVP or ticketing system, registration, whichever term you want to use, we need to make sure that we understand not only the benefits of using that platform or using the tools that we would use, but also any special features. So I want to encourage you, whatever platforms you have, whether it's Google Meet or Zoom or Skype or even FaceTime has a feature where you can kind of host video camera events. There are also dial-in phone number kind of those kind of count as a virtual call as well. So I know Uber Conference, freeconference.com. There are so many ways and places that you can not only host an online event, but also have people register through that platform. As an example, for this class, it is hosted on Zoom. So when we send out the registration for it, it connects you to Zoom so that you have the link to go directly to get the content. So knowing the benefits and the features of what your technology is number one. And then we have to remember what we're telling other people in our communication about the event. So not only in the promotion of the event, but also on the RSVP page, on the confirmation page, in the emails that you're sending out. You need to make sure that you include the date, the time, and the schedule of events. I think the schedule of events is sometimes the thing that people forget to include. And I think it's a really important part of letting your audience know your expertise, really, because that's how they know what you're going to talk about. And you can even do it from a very high level space. You don't have to get too deep into the nitty gritty of what you're going to talk about. Um, be sure to list the benefits of the event. So, not only the fact that people can access it from the comfort of their home or office, but also what they will walk away knowing, what they will walk away understanding. It's also very important to include a schedule of the speakers, the webinars, the workshop, or the social event. So I like to include all of those things in every event. I like to have a social moment. For example, in this class, we have a coffee break that's coming up in a couple of minutes. I think it is important to kind of just take that mental pause, and you never know how valuable that could be in a virtual setting, especially if you're teaching a class of 300 people. Having a 5-minute buffer at the beginning of class in order to allow people to get through whatever registration or technical challenges they may have is not only courteous, but it's very strategic. So give yourself those little bitty buffers. And at the end of class, we can go back to the class schedule so you can see how I layered in the buffers for this class. And then also make sure to list the special guests, the sponsors, vendors, partners, or exhibitors that you are expecting to attend. Even if they don't show up, you want to give people their shout out. Again, if we're thinking in the space of virtual being inclusive of live, semi-live, and on demand, we want our sponsors, our special guests, and our vendors to see that we gave them a moment of recognition and that we appreciate them for working with us.
Dominique, I want to
Yep.
jump in right now to ask that a question did come up in the chat after you asked if there were questions, and it kind of aligns with what you just said about sponsors. And Mona wanted to know, how do we connect with sponsors that align with our values? I'm not sure if that was part of today's session or not, but it's an excellent question, and I wanted to make sure that you saw that. Do you need me to repeat the question?
No, how do we connect with sponsors that align with our values, right?
Correct.
I think that's an excellent question. I'll definitely make sure when we talk about partnerships and sponsorships later in the month that I go a little deeper. But what I will say to start is, first of all, do you have a clear example or a clear message of what your values are on your platform, right? So let's say DominiqueBercy.com. On my platform, is it clear what my values are? And I'm not saying that you have to necessarily bullet point, these are our values, but even if you have a quick message that says, we value family, fun, and fellowship. Join us tomorrow for our webinar. Using that phrasing in your representation is important before you ask people if they align with you, right? So I think number one, make sure you represent what your values are, and make sure that your team and your family knows what your values are so that you're always representing them. And then start looking for organizations that also represent those values. Once you do that, that's in the space of market research. That's what we call that in our industry. Once you do your market research, then you'll have a better understanding of what organizations align with your values and maybe even align with other things that are important. So not just values, maybe they align from a business goal standpoint, maybe they align from a social impact and social consciousness standpoint. So maybe there are other things that you align with. And once you do that market research and kind of narrow in on who and what you're talking to, or I'm sorry, who and what you are looking to seek sponsorship for and from, you can better answer connecting with a stronger alignment. I hope that was clear and layered. I hope it gave you ideas for how to kind of draw more parallels between you and a potential sponsor. Because let's be honest, a lot of major corporations and organizations have budgets and resources. So they want to do charitable giving, or they want to do in-kind donations, or they want to support smaller businesses. But if you do not represent yourself in a way that shows them that you are connected, it's harder to get the funds. It's harder to get the sponsorship. I thought I put this phone on. So if that's the only question, I would like to take a moment to take a little coffee break. I'm just going to pour a little tea. I think I told everyone last week that I was ill about 2 weeks ago, and I'm making my way back. So I just like to have tea on hand. And today I'm just drinking like a stress-free tea with a little bit of a stress tincture from one of my clients. And that's it. That's all I got in my cup. And if we don't have any other questions or any other, I guess, things that we're asking, I want to give a quick innovation tip.
Hey, this is Lorena. Yes, I'm very excited to participate. Lorena Munoz here on these events. Starting this, I kind of on and off participated, but now I've made it a point because I think marketing for me and my business is going to be really, really important. And as you were talking, Dominique, my heart was pounding, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I know this is going to be what's going to help my business launch. I'm telling you a little bit about what I want to do or what had happened. I was in the banking industry for 12 years. And then prior to that, I was in the nonprofit world. I was helping the Hispanic community, and I had a radio show, and it was all about communicating to the Hispanic community what to do in the different cases. This was early on here in Forsyth County. And then I moved into the financial world, but then through the merger, my bank eliminated my position, and this past 4 months, I've been thinking what I'm going to do next with all the experience I have, but I want to help. And I think, and I've been listening to this for over a year now, like all these ideas on financial independence, retire early, but really what's been more important for me is the part that so many people were not ready for this crisis. And if we had a better understanding of personal finances, a lot of people would have been in better shape. Like the simple idea of having a 6 month of savings for a rainy day. And this has been more than a rainy day, rainy year. So there's a lot of resources in English, but I don't think I haven't found personally anything here that will speak to my community. And as I was looking for a job, I was offered a couple of times an opportunity to become a financial advisor. But then the more I learned about that, it was about reaching out the rich people, the ones with the money. And I had, no, but what about the little people, the ones that live paycheck to paycheck? And there wasn't a room for that in the big companies. And I haven't seen that. Even in banks, you're reaching to the private bank, the wealthy. The rest are just a checking account just for the, but I think now as I launch, I'm sorry, I went too long on that, but my idea, I'm very excited that I'm working on learning about podcasting. So I want to I'm going to be the voice. I know there are many podcasts out there, but here, I'll be here in Winston-Salem. So I don't know how many other podcasters in Spanish are there talking about personal finances. And then it's like, how do I get to more people as I launch this idea? And this is going to be all about these virtual events, but I'm terrified. Like, what if I have 1 and 2 people show up?
Listen, you do not need to be terrified. First of all,
Yeah.
let me just tell you, you have no reason to be terrified. You are in excellent hands. So that's number 1. Number 2, thank you for sharing such a vulnerable, honest, and brave story about your organization and your goals. I think that is such a powerful thing to be able to communicate in just a few moments, that I'm happy that we have it recorded, because I'm going to go back and listen to what you said with the ears of like, if you were my client, how I would push you forward. And Lorena, I want you to know that we are going to get so stretched in these series that you're going to have so many ideas that you're going to need to hire people to help you. Like I know that I can say that without a doubt, because I am looking for somebody in my organization. In one of the projects that I'm doing, we're teaching financial literacy. And I am multilingual. So Spanish is my second strongest language after English, even though it's not my native tongue, but I'm very skilled in Spanish. So everything I'm developing, I literally have a Spanish version and I'm getting a French version. So you never know who is listening to your story and who could say, Lorena is over here, she's talking about financial literacy, but then she also made a very important point about having access to information in underserved communities. And I know those aren't the words that you used, but those are the words that I'm giving you for you to use, because that's what you're speaking to. And if you wanted to do financial literacy, I also encourage you to add a little bit of translation services, or maybe even other services that people in our communities, as a first generation American, I can say our communities that need not only the information of the financial literacy in order to prepare for a pandemic, but also, is it in a language in which they understand and can digest it? And even you as a podcaster, are you going to have a Spanish version and an English version, or are you going to merge the two during one episode? Like I have so many thoughts about everything you said that it's so exciting. You are probably feeling the anxiety of the spaceship about to take off, as opposed to like fear.
Yeah, well, I've been a little like, I'm aware of my accent in English, and so I feel like I'll do a lot better si lo hago en español, if I do it in Spanish, because that's I was born and raised in Chile, and I think I have that connection with the Hispanic community. I will be better better served if I do it in my language. But if someone invites me to talk in English, I'm not, as you can see here, despite my limitations and being aware that I have an accent, I'm not afraid. And I'll make mistakes and people make mistakes, but as long as they laugh with me, not at me,
Yes.
I can
Well,
take
Lorena, I'm going to tell you as a millennial and somebody that speaks multiple languages, and I actually have, I think, the opposite issue, if you will. I speak Haitian Creole, my native tongue, with a very American accent. And so anytime I go back or anytime I speak to my family, they're like, what did you just say? So I think you could say that on either side of the coin. I think what we need to do in order to tap into our millionaire strategy is understand that we straddle the fence and there's money on both sides. So that's what I'll say to you.
Thank you so much. And I'm sorry took too long, but I just want to say thank you. I'm very excited about this.
Oh my gosh, you're welcome. I can't wait to hear more about your story and see where you go and where it grows.
Wow, yeah.
So since we kind of talked about languages and providing resources to underserved communities, I'm going to pivot my innovation tech tip. And I'm going to recommend that we, if providing translation services or even speaking in another language or providing content in another language is something that you want to do, aspire to do, or hope to do, or are doing in your business, I would recommend using translator apps. The one that I'm most comfortable with is Google Translate. Now, I do understand it doesn't have every single language and every single dialect, but it is a good place to start, especially if you're just promoting your marketing. So when we think about marketing, whatever you have in front of people is less than 100 words, unless it's an email. So no matter what, your piece of information that you're giving other people needs to be less than 100 words because nobody wants to read all of that. So if you could get those 100 words and translate them into the languages you needed, now you have tapped into an underserved community. And I'm not saying this from a capitalistic standpoint of, oh my God, go get their money too, but understand that when other people are looking at you for sponsorship, for partnership, for donations, for resources, they're going to look at the whole picture of you. And you never know what organization is going to want to sponsor you or give you money or partner with you because you added a few multilingual pieces of content. So that's a really great way to not take advantage of anyone's culture, but really speak to it and serve it. So we are right on time to start talking about how events impact your business. So first of all, we need to be honest with ourselves and understand that we all have a budget, whether we know what that is or not. We need to understand that virtual events specifically help us with eliminating any additional cost of venue, some hospitality things, whether you have like snacks or provide refreshments, travel, and kind of those things that normally are the budget. They take up the whole budget when you think of events. They also allow you to remove some of the physical burden of having events. I know Magali can probably attest to this. When you're an event planner, I mean, it's like a workout, the day before, the day after, your body is definitely feeling it because you're doing a lot of running back and forth. It's mentally draining, and that's as somebody coordinating the event, let alone somebody hosting it, or somebody paying for it, or marketing it, or all of the above, which is how I do my events.
And that's true whether it's virtual or in person.
Yes. Yeah. And I like to tell people, if you're having a virtual event, please put buffers in for you, right? You need an hour before the event to not talk to anyone. You need an hour before the event to not talk to anyone. Sometimes I talk to God. That's who I believe in. Sometimes I'll call my mom. Sometimes I'll call a boyfriend or somebody that loves me and encourages me. And I'll just say quick, okay, I'm about to do this event. Wish me luck. And then I focus, I review my notes and I prepare for the event. I also like to, if the event starts 30 minutes, I like to set up digitally 30 minutes before the event. So I want to be on the Zoom call. So that means if you have a free Zoom account, you might need to be mindful of that because certain restrictions and limitations apply based on the type of account you have. As we think about, making sure we check our technology and stay ahead of the innovation of our event, we need to also think about our target audience and how it's now going across the globe. Because virtual events are literally just a click away from other prospects anywhere in the world. So that can be good and bad. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But I want everyone to understand that the wider your reach is, the more diverse your turnout will be. So that means that it provides an opportunity for you to meet new people, but it also might skew your data slightly. It also might affect your experience slightly. So at the beginning of the pandemic, when Zoom, I think they like were times 10 what their profits were within a couple of days because everything went from offline to online. So they literally got bombarded with people creating accounts, trying to schedule meetings and take up virtual and digital real estate. Well, that resulted in a lot of issues. The platform was very glitchy. Sometimes certain features wouldn't turn on. Sometimes you couldn't hear the host. There were just different things that were affecting everyone's ability to enjoy Zoom because of the new people that came on board to use the product. So some people would say, oh my gosh, they experienced such great growth. They expanded so quickly. It was so great. But at the same time, they were not able to keep up with the demand. So that ended up affecting the user's experience. So personally, Zoom is one of those platforms that I do use that I'm very familiar with. But whenever Zoom was taking too long to load, I went to Google Meet. I went to Skype. I went to FaceTime because I understand that my global audience still wants access to me. So having more than one backup plan is helpful. Now, does that mean you need to learn every single platform on your own? No. It means you can probably find someone that will work for you or with you that has those skills. Also, we need to remember the world is distancing in order to survive right now. So virtual events are really mending the distance barriers that we have, and it's bringing people together in a virtual safe space. And you should be proud of hosting events that do that during such a challenging time. I think when we think of that pride that we should carry, we should also be able to create a unique user experience that really is innovative. Like this is the opportunity for you to innovate, excuse me. Who can you partner with? How can you make more inclusive webinars, videos, brochures, and ebooks that speak to your new audience? Remember that those things, webinars, videos, ebooks, those things add to your value. So if it's not something that you've been doing, think about incorporating it into your business strategy or plan. I do see a few questions, but I'm going to hold them until we get through this lesson, because I think some of them will be answered in this. So we already talked about this slide, and we talked about making sure that we made mention of a public health comment. We also clarified details of the event, and we made sure to add any revisions or promote a change in the location in a way where people would see it and it would be eye-catching. The next thing we need to think about is how you can get the word out about your online event. So let's say you've been used to having in-person events at the Yellow Door store, and now out of nowhere, you have to figure out how to not only set up your ring light, but set up your camera. And now you need a microphone because people can't hear you. And now you have to figure out how to use Zoom, and you have to do an event. The last thing on your mind is probably promoting the event, right? So a few things that I want you to remember are you can get a lot done with getting help from other people. Since you're the one that might have to put on the event, create the content, and host, try to get help in other ways to promote your event. One of the things I like to tell people is use a press release. Go to Google, find a press release template, download it, have somebody on your team edit it for your business needs, and send it to your local publication, whether it's a newspaper, a magazine. Some organizations have fees associated with advertising, but a lot of them are very small. And I would even say a lot of neighborhood newspapers and things like that, they need advertising dollars. So that's a way for you to maybe even budget and plan for your marketing. Another thing is to make sure that you send a mass email to all the attendees with 2 follow-up emails. I'm going to repeat that. Make sure you send a mass email to all of the attendees, I would say before the event. And then 2 follow-up emails. Why 2 follow-up emails? Because the first one needs to thank them for attending, and the second one could possibly sell a ticket or a product to the next event. That way it gives you time to talk to them in between. That way they feel like you have courted them throughout the experience, and it's not like you ghosted them and never replied to their text message after they spent 2.5 hours with you. You also want to be sure to add all of your posts to your social channels, especially LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. Especially LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. I am a fan of Instagram. It is my favorite platform, second to Snapchat. But those 2 platforms are not where my audience and my customers are. Those platforms are where my friends and family are. So when we're speaking about business, when we're speaking about who needs to hear what we're saying, we need to think about the platforms that work best for us to sell. Not to share pictures of your dog or pictures of your beautiful tea mug, but to sell. I'm not saying that those other platforms don't have a purpose. I just think they're not more important than LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter as far as sales are concerned. You want to be sure to add a distinct banner to your website to show whatever information you're showing. One thing I cannot stand is when somebody is hosting an event and I go to their website and I don't see anything about it. Is this thing happening? Now, that might mean that you have people on your team that have website development skills. Even if you don't have that, you should be able to find a YouTube video that helps you at least understand what you need, so that if you can't figure it out yourself based on your patience, based on your desires, based on your ability, then maybe you can hire someone that can do the work. There are so many platforms out there that have opportunities for you to hire somebody domestically and overseas to help you with website development for as little as $5 an hour. So don't get frustrated, D-Lo. It's not worth it. There are other things that we have to do for our organization. And if we could find the dollars to pay the people a few dollars an hour and manage that process, because I will say management of that process and the cross-cultural challenges that sometimes you face with international vendors is part of it. But to me, that's part of being a boss more than being the worker. So elevate your strategy and empower people with work and jobs and opportunity so that you can grow. And also inform your staff and all of your partners, sponsors, and speakers to share information on their social channels as well. Make sure you don't miss that opportunity. You definitely need to make sure your team is aware of what you're doing, so they need their own communication. You can take that same communication and massage it and send it to your family, friends, and customers. So just make sure that you're thinking of all of the people that you speak to when you're trying to speak to them. And of course, a strategy would not be a strategy without measurable goals. So we want to make sure that we set goals to measure our success for in-person and virtual events. So some of the examples of what I do when I'm trying to measure success is, first of all, I'm trying to build my database and my email list, because I need 200 more people to know about me because I had this virtual event. And by know about me, that means I need their contact information. I like to get press coverage of my events. I think it's an easy way for you to have other people talk about you. And nowadays, with such a diversified press industry, you can hire bloggers, you can hire writers, you can find people that are trying to blog and write more, and invite them to join you, maybe give them a free registration and some other thing that you can offer them. If you can't offer them money, maybe sometimes they just want exposure and resources. So make sure you try to get press coverage. And then also, most people are always looking to turn a profit. How much money do you want to generate from ticket sales and on-site sales? Now, we are kind of short for time, but I think we can get through the last couple of slides. And if everyone needs a few minutes, I have a few more minutes after class to answer questions. But I would also say take this moment to put any questions in the chat box, just in case we can't get to them today, we can get to them later. But I do want to kind of talk about the importance of understanding that growth can be good, and it usually is good, but if we're not prepared for the growth, then the user experience gets affected. And then that means people won't want to come back. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't have a typo or a glitch like I did earlier when I started on slide 11 instead of slide 2. It just means you need to be flexible and you need to be able to know your content so much that even if you have a mix up like that, you can still keep the show going, right? I tell you guys all the time, I'm a theater kid. So I am always in the mindset of the show must go on, no matter if my phone goes off 85 times, no matter if I have to get my ring light in the middle of everything, no matter if I have to pour some tea in order to stay alert and hydrated. I'm definitely going to make sure that I'm flexible and that I have the things that I need so that I can give top quality no matter what. So I hope you enjoyed our lesson today. We're going to talk about what I like to call our homework or our virtual event playbook assignment. And last month, I really enjoyed giving assignments to people because it gives you an opportunity to take time outside of class to think about what we discussed. So what we're going to be working on is building our own personal playbook. So as you know, this series is going to help you with your virtual event experience, but the homework is going to help you develop a playbook that suits your business based on what we talk about in class. So today I want you guys to be encouraged to make a strategy for your virtual events. So it's going to require a little bit of pretending if you're not quite there yet, but I think it's a good exercise for you. And I just want to remind you that your strategy needs to include the correct channels and tools in order to be effective and results oriented. So I want you to focus mainly on, if you had a virtual event, what would it be? How many people would you like to attend your event, right? Like focus on the estimation of the attendees that you would desire. You also need to think of new leads, right? Everyone that comes to your event is not necessarily a customer. They might just be a supporter. They might just be a friend. They might just be a foe. And I like to include that because you have to understand that that is who you're talking to. So you want to make sure that when you are thinking of the people that want to spend money with you, you're ready to have that next conversation with them. And you need to make sure that you include sales and traffic conversion goals in what you're doing, right? So a few questions that I want to leave you with that should help you with your homework assignment are, what would your virtual event be? Who would you invite? And what would you do if you only had 1 hour? What would you give away for free? And what would you sell? So that is our homework. I do want to leave you with one resource. This is my absolute favorite resource of the last 5 years. Magali and I talk about Canva regularly. And for those of you that don't know, Canva is a graphic design platform that allows you to create social media graphics, presentations, posters, documents, and all other visual content. This presentation that I created, I actually use a template in Canva. I like for my presentations to be full of color. I like little Lucky Charm pot of golds. I like adding snapshots and pictures of a website so you can see what it includes. And if you notice when I hover over this, that yellow thing comes up. Once you get this presentation, you can click these links and you can go directly to the websites that I refer for you guys without any hesitation or question. So no matter what, when you get the resources at the end of the month from class, you have access to every link in the presentation. So Canva is awesome. I have been using Canva probably about, I was one of the beta testers. I do remember that because it was like within a few months of them starting. And I've been with them ever since. I think it's been about 5 years, and I have a paid account. That's how much I believe in them. So there are free accounts that you could sign up for. And I'll drop that link in this chat box as well in case you guys want to take a look now. And if we don't have any other questions or anything we can get to, I know we are pressed for time, but I here for another 10 minutes.
Thank you so much, Dominique. Yes, we are right at time, but if you have to leave, we understand. There were 2 questions in the chat, and I apologize. They're cutting grass outside, so if you hear that, I do apologize. But I did want to get to, I think there are 2 questions if they're still here. Nikita had a question. And just for those that don't know, Nikita is the founder and the director of our local Fashion Week, Winston-Salem Fashion Week, which will be hosted virtually this year. So we're really excited about that. Hustle will be joining her with that. But she did have a question, Dominique, and her question is it normal to feel nervous or scary hosting a virtual event?
You know, absolutely. I would say it's always nervous to do any type of public speaking. That's why I made it a point to really practice public speaking skills and to stay involved in the public speaking community. So for someone like me, it's not that nerve-wracking. But if you are someone that doesn't normally speak in front of people, I encourage you, go to YouTube. YouTube is your friend. And it's a free resource while we're all kind of quarantined and figuring it out. Look up some public speaking tips, or find someone that you like and follow them and see what they say about speaking, not only publicly but also virtually. A lot of the tips and tricks I've learned from bloggers on YouTube that literally have videos that say, watch me as I set up my virtual office. And then sometimes they have really useful links, like the ones I provided for you, but sometimes they'll have products that they promote or they believe in. Sometimes they'll have articles and things like that. So I encourage you to do the research and the work that you need to do to kind of conquer those fears, because the truth is that people want to hear from you. And I think once you explore YouTube, you'll realize there are so many people saying and doing the same things, but they have a different style. And they might be talking about the same exact content as somebody else, but you resonate with them. So don't be afraid to show us who you are. Show us who you are and tell us who you are and tell us why we should enjoy you. And don't be afraid.
Thank you so much. I hope that was helpful, Nikita.
And let me jump in too, Magali. I'm sorry. Nikita, send me an email and I'll send you some more tips. That's it.
Okay. Nikita, there was also a comment in the chat for you to please share information on the Fashion Weeks. I don't know if you already dropped it in there, but if you can drop it in the chat, we'll also share it to the Facebook as people are wanting to know more about that. Dominique, the next question, I think it's for me, it's from Dilo. He's wanting to know when the next class is. So just for everyone, we have marketing outside the box every Wednesday, 12:30 to 1:30. This particular class will take place throughout the month of September. Same time, same place. We will do our best to end at 1:30 in the future. We do apologize for that. But it's every Wednesday. You can find us here on the same Zoom link you used to register today. It's not the same Zoom link from last month. I know that a few of you tried to get in today with the Zoom link from August. It's a different link, so make sure that you're using the right link to join us in September, and it won't be the same link in October. We change it every month, but you can join us here for that. And then Dominique, the last thing I think, if there aren't any other questions, last thing, it was my question, and you stopped sharing your screen, but you had a slide about the innovation tip. And I know we kind of went into some time, and I don't know that you actually shared that, if you wanted to share the innovation tip.
So I was gonna talk about, one thing, but then when we had the question from Lorena, the innovation tip was in reference to Google Translate.
Okay.
And encouraging people, if they can offer multilingual services, that is a resource that could help you do that. So that's where I pivoted with that one. But if we need another,
no. I just wanted to make sure you can share another one next week. I just wanted to make sure.
Okay.
Lastly, Ethan just sent me a message about today's slides and August presentations. I know Dominique wanted to address August. And as far as today's slide, we will send all of the slides. We normally send them at the end of the month.
Well, would it be a problem to send them earlier if we can get them?
No, it's not a problem to send it earlier. I was waiting for you to say it because it's.
Oh, no. And thank you for giving me so much room to kind of grow. But I will be sure to get the email list and send you guys the presentation for today. I think we can get it to everyone by Friday, just to make sure there aren't any technical issues or there aren't any updates that have to be made. I was trying to drop the link for Canva in here really quickly so you could get a free account. But I think with this link, you can get a free account and then maybe 1 or 2 premium things.
Just include it in the email blast.
Okay, I'll include it in the email blast.
Did you want to respond to Ethan about August presentations?
Oh yes, Ethan. So August presentations will be emailed out on Friday. We're just making sure that we have all the resources and all the right links in the presentation so you guys can get directly to where you need to be. So.
And let me just make one clarity on that. You will receive the August presentations if you were registered for any of the sessions in August. Right. So Ethan, if you did not attend August at all and you don't receive it on Friday, send Hustle a follow-up email and we'll be sure to get it to you. Lorena, I just saw your message. If you did not join us in August, I think you did at some point, but if you didn't join us in August at all, please send that email address to hustlewsinfo@gmail.com, and we will be sure to add you to the list. And I'll put that email address in the chat as well, hustlewsinfo@gmail.com, and we'll be sure to add you to that. Are there any other questions? All right, if not, we look forward to you all joining us next week, same time, same place. We didn't have time to do it today, but I will be sharing next week some other exciting things that we have going on throughout the month of September. This month, the middle of this month starts the celebration of Fiesta, which is the Hispanic League here in Winston-Salem. It is our time to recognize Hispanic Heritage Month, which runs from September 15th through October 15th. So we have some really exciting things going on with that. I see Nikita did not drop the information about Fashion Week, but we'll be sure to get that for you next week as well. Oh, wait, there she goes. She just put a message in there. So hopefully she'll get to it. And then lastly, I think I may have missed it. I love to share kudos as well. And I did not get a chance, but Robert, who I believe is joining us from New Jersey, if I saw his introduction earlier, unless I'm mistaking him for someone else. But Robert and Mona both had something very positive to share with you, Dominique, and you know I love to share positive comments. Robert said, great presentation, Dominique, wonderful content. You translate a lot of learning into a very relaxed professional presentation. And then Mona shared, informative and authentic presenter. Great job keeping my attention. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I try really hard to keep it engaging and really, we cover a lot of information. So thank you.
And sorry, Robert is in Kentucky, not New Jersey. My apologies. Kentucky. Someone is in New Jersey. Oh, Olive. Olive is in New Jersey. Sorry. Okay. Olive is in New Jersey.
Maybe next week we can put what city we're all in the chat box as part of our intro, so we can just be aware of how far our reach is in this room. And then we can be a little more encouraged, you know, to share our information with our fellow classmates.
Cool. All right, awesome. Nikita, I see that you're waiting to drop some things, but we're getting ready to end the Zoom. You can just send it to me and we'll include it in the email. And Robert, I did see that clarification. He's here in North Carolina, in Alamance County. Yes, that's right, Robert. This is the to-go place on Wednesdays at 12:30. I love it. I love it.
And Wednesday is my favorite day of the week, so it's perfect.
Well, we hope everyone has a great rest of the week. I know both myself and Alan have to prepare for another meeting at 2 o'clock, and we want to give ourselves 15 minutes to breathe and relax.
Yeah, take that mindfulness moment.
Yes. But everyone have a great, great day, rest of the week, and a great day. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.